Today we'll be taking a basic look at the interface of Source 2's hammer, as well as some of the tools to get you started mapping. First, go to File at the top left and click New. This will create a new map where you can save it off to somewhere else and work on it periodically. As you can see down here, the current map was loaded from a read-only directory, and any changes must be saved in a different location. To save the map, press Ctrl S or go to File, Save. Click OK if this comes up. For you, it should take you directly to your add-on where you can save your map. But if it doesn't, go back to the content folder under Half-Life Alyx, go to HLVR add-ons, and then select your add-on from this menu. Mine, I believe, is called Tutorial Add-on. For some reason for me there wasn't a folder, so I had to create one. Give your map a name down here and save it. Yo, quick little interjection. I made a little bit of an oopsie. It should work for you if you just create the add-on normally and do the normal stuff. It should just save it to that directory automatically when you try to save it. But if it doesn't, I'll show you how to do it now. The right way, because what I did is I didn't create the maps folder inside of the add-on, which is not the right structure, so you need to create the maps folder inside the add-on as well. Yeah, thanks. See ya. Alright, now that you've saved your map, we can get to working into the tools. To start with, most of Hammer 2's workflow is in the 3D viewport instead of Source 1 with being in the 2D viewport. To move around in the 3D viewport, click and hold down right click and then move with the WASD keys. Or alternatively, you can press Z to toggle fly mode. You can also move with the movement keys outside of either of these modes if you want to, just to quickly reposition. To navigate in the 2D viewport, you can right click and drag to pan the scene. You can scroll in and out with the scroll wheel. And to switch the 2D views quickly, you can press Control and space, and it will flip to side, front, and top. To change the grid size on Hammer, you can go down to the where it says grid and change it manually by selecting it from that box, or you can do what everyone does and just press the bracket keys. Left bracket makes it smaller and right bracket makes it bigger. You can see it changing the grid size. It'll say what size it is down there. You can turn snap off down here as well. So if we were to create a block, it would not snap to the grid if I moved it. And here's what it looks like if it does. You can see it snaps. You can also turn on vertex snapping, which I would assume snaps to the vertex. I don't really use that. There's the grid snapping, and there's also rotation snapping. So if you were to turn off rotation snapping, it would not snap while rotating. The angle at which you rotate is down here. So if the snap is on, it will rotate 15 degrees. You kind of have to adjust this manually. I haven't really figured out a way to not do it manually. If you want 1 degree, then you can do 1 degree. It still snaps, but not as much. There's 5 degrees. You can see it's still snapping. There's 90 degrees, which will just turn it. And yeah, that's the bottom section. There you go. The layout of Hammer 2 can be changed up here with the layout button. There are a couple different layouts, and every one of these windows you can pull out and customize yourself. I am not going to do that because I feel like I would screw it up because I have before. On session options, you can select unique pane layout or reset to default. Any one of these screens can be changed to a different thing. So if we wanted a 3D view down here as well, we could get that, but I prefer my 2D view there. If we wanted, let's say the game here, we could do that. And if we wanted something else down here, we could do that as well. As a reminder, all of these are detachable. You can move them around with this as well. I just prefer to use the original view. You can customize it as you want. There's also original Hammer view, so 2D top, and you could set the others to do whatever you want as well. I am going to reset to default layout because that is what I prefer. And now we're gonna quickly gloss over the tools. Alright, the first tool we're gonna have a look at is the selection tool, which can be accessed by pressing Shift and S. The selection tool essentially allows you to select stuff, either with the box select, which is click and drag, or by clicking on something in the scene, which it will then select. There's also the lasso select, which is middle mouse button, and lasso will only select it if it is fully inside the lasso. So you can see it selected the lamp because it was fully there, but it didn't select the block because only half of it was there. The next tool we'll be looking at is the translate tool, which is accessed by pressing T. You can click on any object and move it in the direction that you would like. These squares move it in two directions at once. There's one for X, there's one for up and sideways, and another one for up and sideways. This middle circle free moves an object. Press Ctrl Z to reset, to redo your last, or not redo, you know what I mean. Ctrl Z is the same as it is in every other thing. The next tool we'll be going over is the rotate tool, which allows you to rotate things in any direction, and if you click on this middle sphere, it will allow you to free rotate things. The next tool is the scale tool, which allows you to scale things whichever way you want. Sideways, up and down, has the same thing as the transform tool, and this scales the entire thing as in the transform tool. Or the translate tool, sorry. I call it the transform tool. The pivot tool, essentially you can change where an object is rotated from. So if you were to move the pivot out here and then go to the rotate tool by pressing R, you could rotate it from this position instead of, if you click off of it, it'll reset the pivot instead of the center. This is useful for if you want to create like an arch or something. So if I wanted to do this, oh, that didn't work. Yeah, I have to move the pivot first. If I wanted to make an archway, I could do this. and it would create an archway. And I delete some of the faces to make it work. And that's that. Click off, resets the pivot. There you go. The entity tool can place down any entity. This is info player start. And it is set to that by default because it's the player spawn location. There's some preset ones here, including player start, player equipment, which we'll talk about later, lighting, sky, and some NPCs. You can also place down any entity by typing in here what you want. So if you wanted a logic entity, for example, you could put it down. You could type it in here because it's not here. Actually, it might be. That might have been... Yeah, that was a bad example. You get my point. You can type in anything from here, so particle system is probably not on here. And you can place that down. The next tool is the block tool, which can be accessed by pressing Shift B. This allows you to create simple geometry, such as a block. You can go under this tab, the geometry type, to change this type of simple geometry that you can make. You can make a quad, which is essentially a face of something else. It's just a 2D plane. It doesn't have a back, and that's that. You can create a cylinder. You can create a spike, although I don't really know why you'd use this one, and it doesn't seem like it would have a practical application. And you can make a sphere, which I also don't use as much. And those are the types of simple geometry. Keep in mind, though, that you can combine those into much more complex stuff later. We'll talk about that in the advanced mesh, or just in a mesh editing tutorial. I'm not really sure which one I would make it yet. The next really useful tool is the clipping tool, which, if you have an object selected, you can clip it. You can cut it in certain ways. If you repress the tool, the hotkey is Shift X. Some of these it'll tell you the hotkey on top. So the entity tool is Shift E. The rotate tool is RT, and then Shift S. So pretty self-explanatory. If you press the hotkey again or click on it over here, it'll change the keep mode. You can also click on the keep mode yourself. If you were to only be keeping one side of it, it would normally cut out this face. So this is no longer existing. If you didn't want that, what you could do... Oh god. If you didn't want that, what you could do is check this box that says cap new surfaces, and it will put a face there for you. Let me just fix that texture. Oh, wrong texture. Whatever, you get the point. So that is how to use the clipping tool. Where's the beginning? There it is. And I think that's pretty much all of the tools that I will cover in this one. We'll cover some more in the advanced version of this. I just want to get the basics out for now. We're going to move on, though, to selection modes, which can be cycled through. They're up here, and they can be cycled through using the number keys. 1 is vertices, 2 is edges, 3 is faces, 4 is meshes, 5 is objects, 6 is groups, and 8 is navigation, which we'll talk about later. Vertices, and these are particularly going to be useful on like blocks like this. So I can move these vertices wherever I want. You can use all the normal tools on them, like the transform. You can use rotate if you want to. I don't know why you'd use rotate on a vertice, but if you were gonna do like edge or something, or face, it would rotate the face. So you can make some shapes with that. Meshes selects all these things because they're all technically meshes. Meshes are basically what Source2 uses to render. Well, no, that's not the best explanation of it. Meshes are essentially, this is what you have to know. It's essentially the thing that gets rendered, as I understand it. I still don't think that's the best explanation of it. Objects is everything. So this is a prop static, this is an object. This is also an object. And so is this, so it can be selected. Groups apply to the viz groups over here, so if I was to create a new group, I forgot how to do that, but you don't really need to know that right now. It would select the groups. It would select the groups, so this is group NPC, this is group world geometry, I guess, and this is group static props. And that's pretty much all I'll talk about for now. If you were to go into face mode, if you wanted to select something, or if something was rotated and you wanted to move it in the direction that it is rotated, you can press tab, which will switch the object to its local work plane, so you can drag it in the direction that it's already facing. Press tab again, it'll switch back to normal. You can do it like that, and it'll do straight again. That covers some of the options up here. There's the work plane stuff, which kind of applies to the tab, I believe. I won't talk about that right now. Backface selection essentially allows you to, if it's turned on, select a face from the back where there is no face, which I usually keep off because I think it's annoying. The view settings, it's pretty much, it's just view settings. I think they're pretty self-explanatory. There's some extra tools over here in map settings. We'll talk about those later because there's a couple things there that are useful. Over here is the viz groups. So if you were to turn these off, turn the entities off, it would turn the Combine Soldier off because it is an entity. The sub-selection of it with this little plus mark is the NPCs. There are multiple things that can be entities, so you could turn specifically NPCs off if you wanted. In the world drop down, we have static props, which will turn off the lamp, or mesh geometry, which will turn off the box. And you can turn off both if you want to. That's pretty much basic viz groups. For the asset browser down here, all you have to do is type in something in the filter. Let's say for the texture, I want it under materials. I wanted a concrete texture. then we could grab ourselves a concrete texture, basic concrete, and then drag it out from the asset browser onto the block. And that would turn it into concrete, and you'd be set. For overlays, which are the, you know, it's just an overlay. It overlays something onto another surface. You just drag it out like that. Same as the textures. Overlays will kind of stick to whatever surface they're on. So it'll go on top or the bottom. Doesn't really matter. Apparently you can also apply overlays to static props, which I've just discovered. For models, all you have to do is drag them into the 3D view, and then they will be there. For particles, same dealio, and for prefabs, same dealio. We'll talk about those later. This is the used in section, which is just marks some of the stuff that's used in your map, so you can reuse it. Pretty useful. Over here is the object properties, which if I was to click on the lamp down here, you could see the object properties. So this is essentially the equivalent of pressing Alt then Enter, which I prefer to do because it's a bigger window. You can change the class, and you can edit some properties, the render properties, like disable shadows, default skin. You can do the same thing with the Combine Soldier. It'll appear down here, and it'll appear when you press Alt Enter. I'll let everyone else play around with that. I won't really go into too much detail right now, but that is that. The outliner, just from what I can tell, allows you to search for a specific entity or select anything in the map, and it logs the things as they're placed into the map. So yeah, I think that's gonna do it for the basic interface. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope it helped you to learn the basic interface of Source 2. Next time we will probably be talking a little more about the interface and basic construction of maps. And yeah, I will see you guys next time. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.